Worship leaders, when you start picking out your set for next Sunday, there are 3 worship songs that you must avoid at all costs. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Blueprint Sounds. My name is Nathan Smith. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about choosing worship songs for your church. There are more worship songs than ever available, and because of the internet and all of the different resources that we have, everybody wants to get their new worship song to you. So you have a lot to choose from, but what should you choose? Well, we're going to talk about that today. Before we do, make sure to go to my website, blueprintsounds.com, and get access to my free 45-minute workshop called 5 Elements of a Full-Sounding Worship Team. It shows you how, in any song that you pick, to build your song up from the bass and the drums up so that you have a full sound no matter what song you choose. With that being said, let's talk about today's topic. Number 1, avoid songs that are built on production value your church doesn't have. So the quality of the gear and the technology and the training and the ability that churches have to make a good live recording has skyrocketed. That means that when you listen to a live album of the new album, the new thing that just dropped, you're hearing a lot more than just the melody and the band. You're hearing the crowd, you're hearing synths, you're hearing reverbs, you're hearing 3 electric guitars, all those overdubs. You might hear a choir in the background. And of course, the vocals are tuned perfectly. So everything is perfect, right? It sounds amazing. Well, if the song works because the production is amazing, because the drums are massive, or because of all of those synths, or whatever it is, or often because of the crowd, it tricks your brain into thinking, well, then this song is good, full stop. That means it would work for our church. Well, a song could be good, but that doesn't mean that it's going to work for your church. If you don't have those same production chops, if your church doesn't have the huge drum sound and the background choir and the 3 synths and the electric guitar, well, then a song that comes from that, area, that comes from that community, you plop it into your church, it's going to fall flat no matter what you do. Because oftentimes when you strip all that away, the song's bones, the song's melody and the groove may not still exist. It might have been the production that was carrying the song. If you take that away and you try and do it on a Sunday morning, you might think, man, what's wrong with us? Well, there was nothing wrong with your church. It was the song that was letting you down. Oftentimes, people will try and overcome this problem by just saying, well, we better buy the multi-tracks then. Okay, we need the synths and all those extra guitars. That's the missing element. But again, just layering the production over the top again when your church isn't built for that just causes more problems than it solves. So make sure that you're not choosing songs because you're getting seduced by production value. Make sure that you're choosing songs because they're good. Secondly, don't choose songs just because of its performance. So there are a handful of truly great singers in the worship community that are putting out amazing work, and their performances are excellent. And that's fine, but if you don't have those same performers at your home church, you're going to have a problem. So I'm going to use a secular example of how to decipher between the two. Let's take the first example of Celine Dion singing My Heart Will Go On from the movie Titanic. The song is gigantic. Obviously, it's for the movie Titanic. But the lyrics are soaring, the melody itself has big jumps, and it needs a 1 in a million singer like Celine Dion to fill it out, right? It wouldn't work with anybody else because it's got to be huge. Whitney Houston is the same way. Her songs were massive because she was an incredible singer. Now, think about Banana Pancakes by Jack Johnson. That's all about a guy sitting on the beach strumming his acoustic guitar. It's a very small and intimate song, and it makes sense with itself because the song lyrics are about staying home and cooking breakfast. It's a small idea, but he builds this world with words around it that totally matches his vocal delivery, it matches the melody. It's all making sense with itself. We call that congruent. The song is congruent. As is My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. Everything's big. And so the song makes sense within itself. Well, when you, as a small church, try and do a big song that had a powerhouse vocalist and had all of this production stuff, and then you bring it into a small setting with maybe a vocalist that isn't Celine Dion, now all of a sudden it's dissonant. People are like, this song doesn't make sense. It's just falling flat. Why is this not working? Well, it's because it was the wrong fit for your church, right? If you didn't have that performer and the song needed a big performer and you gave it a lesser, whatever it is, or I should say not lesser, but a different, if you had Jack Johnson come in and sing the song that was supposed to be Celine Dion, it's going to fall flat. Be careful though, because big churches have the same problem. They often will think that they can do more than they can, and they will try and do a big version of a small song, and it ends up sounding bloated and gaudy and overdone. So, just because you're a little church doesn't mean that you're less than. It just means that you have to be smart about what songs that you choose. If you're a big church, be careful, because you're going to think you can do anything, and then all of a sudden you'll put out a gigantic version of Banana Pancakes, and everyone's like, I don't think they actually knew what they were doing, because you overdid it. So that's the second thing. Don't pick songs that utilize performers you don't have. Thirdly, and this one often trips people up, is don't pick songs that your congregation can't sing. Lionel Richie had a great quote about songwriting. He said, I don't write songs that I can sing. I write songs that they can sing. And that's the point. Young songwriters, and there are a lot of songwriters in the Christian worship community right now, think that they need to stretch themselves. They need to explore what they can do. And if they're vocalists, they'll often write melodies that show off their vocal talent. So they'll have big jumps, or they'll have runs, or whatever it is. The problem is when you take them out of the equation, the song isn't good. The song just isn't working because it's tied to that songwriter. It's tied to that vocal performer. And so what happens in a church is when you have a song that is too complicated, this is what people do. They watch, they listen, maybe they'll think about whether they like it or not, but they simply just take it in, and they're spectators. They don't participate. A good song, the song that Lionel Richie is talking about, is one that is inclusive. It's simple. And it's one that people can actually embrace, and by the last chorus, they can sing along with it. Those are the kind of songs that you want, because again, in worship, it's not about the audience watching the people on stage play music. You could go to a concert for that. Our job as worship leaders is to make the praise of the congregation acceptable to the Lord. And so if they are participating, we've done our job. If we're not participating, if the audience is not participating, oftentimes the worship leader gets nervous, and so they start to try and cheerlead. Come on, church, let's go. Like they start to do all of these strange things on stage, trying to elicit a response from people, when what they don't realize is that the song itself is the problem. People can't get with the song, and therefore they just watch it happen, because we're consumers. We watch all day long somebody else do something. So if you want to go beyond that and get into true worship, you have to be very careful about picking a song that people can participate in and not just watch. Hey, I hope that video helps you. I want you to succeed. I want you to have great songs for your Sunday morning, but we do have to be careful that we don't just pick anything and everything that comes out next week, but that we're judicious and we use wisdom in picking the right song for our own church. Before we go, make sure to go to blueprintsounds.com and get access to that free training, 5 Elements of a Full Sounding Worship Team. Until then, God bless and goodbye.